Hey, little lone prepper, welcome. Good evening, everybody. This is Lee, the Cold War prepper. And so tonight we're going to be discussing, hopefully interactively, 20 things that preppers should not do. Boy, I've got my mic in a knot here. Just one second. See if I can untie this without getting too much damage to the cord. And we'll see what we can do. There we go. We got it. Yay. So I am now untied. Okay, so welcome. And Diana, too, welcome to you as well. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to start off with, I told you I was going to start adding some English grammar that we had talked about that, and it seemed to go off pretty well. And we'll also do a little bit of discussion about civics, and that is U.S. government, because that's so poorly taught nowadays. I was very lucky that my senior year in high school was an election year, and we had Mr. Clark. He was a retired Lieutenant Colonel. Hello, Triple G Farms. Martinson family, welcome. Christina Green, welcome. And Mr. Clark was just a phenomenal civics instructor in our senior year. Used to be required 1 year of it, the senior year in high school here in Texas. And Clarity Jane, welcome. And but anyhow, we'll get into a little bit of that. I don't think people understand that we are not a democracy, that we are a republic, and the difference between the two. There's a fantastic little 5-minute video that I'll put out. I'll put a link to it in the show notes here tonight. But I strongly encourage you to go visit the difference between left, right, democracy, republic, etc., and really understand the difference among the 5 different major forms of government. I'm shuffling my hip. We did solar sneakers today. And that's an hour of senior exercise. And our normal instructor had shoulder surgery. So we have some substitute instructors. And this young lady today, we got a workout. So my hip is kind of screaming in retaliation for the workout today. Hello, Tofu. So anyhow, so let's start off with just a little bit of English. And I want to talk about a homophone, or a group of homophones. And these are 3 words that all sound the same, but they're spelled differently. And I'm going to give you my personal secret on how I tell the difference among the 3. And it's the word there. So there are 3 forms of there. So we can use them all 3 in one sentence. They're there for their graduation. So the first they're there for their graduation. So they are. So we're going to replace the A in they are with an apostrophe, and that becomes their, THEY apostrophe RE. So anytime you want to say they are, you can shorten that to their, THEY apostrophe RE. The second one is there, a location, THERE. And how do you remember it's a location? Because it has the word here inside of it. So THERE, that's the location word, there, here, the same kind of a thing. And then the third one I'll give you is there, which is possessive, belonging to them. So the easy way to remember there, belonging to them, for their graduation, is that it has the word heir, HEIR in it, which means that you've inherited something, right? So it belongs to you now instead of somebody else. So that's their, THEIR. So that's THEY apostrophe RE, they are, THERE, over there, not here, has the word here inside of it. And the third one is there, belonging to them, has the word heir, HEIR, inside of it as well. So those are the 3 major homophones as far as the there things. Okay, so that used up a couple of minutes. So now we can get now we've got people notified. Marie 2024, welcome. Lisa B. So yeah, that usually it takes about a minute or 2 to get people involved, because the notices have to go out and everything else. So let's talk about 20 things that preppers should not do. Number 1, don't go crazy with fear. There's a lot of fear-monger channels out there. There's a lot of bad news and everything else. You can get wrapped up in it, and you can really get yourself torn up with fear. There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect that I think, and look it up. Dunning-Kruger effect says that ignorance is bliss, basically. So the less you know about something, the better off you are because you think you're an expert in it. There's not that much to know about it. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize that there's a whole lot more to learn about it. So the more expert you become in it, the less satisfied you are with your performance or your level of skills or your knowledge about it. You want more. Whereas when you don't know anything about it, you think you're an expert in it. So one of the things that happens to us as we're going along this prepping journey is we start learning more and more. Hello, Camper Van Clark and Joseph G. Welcome. And the Redneck Prepper, welcome. Holly Ivans, welcome. Gosh, a lot of great people this evening. So one of the things that happens to us, and it's inevitable, it will happen to you, is as we learn more and more about something, we're going to say, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do that. Now all of a sudden you've got this list of priority things that you have to do, and it can overwhelm you. Beware of that. Don't go crazy with fear. Just understand that the more you learn, the more that you're going to want to do. The second one is just don't give up. That can cause you to want to give up. And but I want to assure you, you can make it if you set your mind to it. So don't fall into that Dunning-Kruger effect. Don't fall into that effect that says the more I learn, the more frustrated I am, because the goal is not just one step away, it's a mile away, and I've got to hurry up to get there. So that causes a lot of people to just say, I'll never get there, so I'm just going to give up. Don't do that. Even if you take a couple baby steps towards your goal, you are closer to your goal than you were the day before. So if all you can do is one extra can of food a week, you're one extra can of food a week ahead of everybody else. So, don't give up. Continue on with your plan, which is number 3. Don't fail to plan. Get yourself a plan. Say, this is what I plan on doing. This is how I plan on having my food stores last. This is how I'm going to get my water. You're going to change over time as things go and you learn more. You're going to adapt that plan. You're going to come up with a contingency plan, an alternate plan, an emergency plan, a backup plan. You're going to have all these different plans, and that's okay. That's really okay, as long as you have it written down and you know what it is that you want to accomplish, and during all the hecticness that's going to be there when something bad happens, you have this written plan. You say, okay, I need to do this next and this next, and don't forget to do that. And that's going to give you a lot of self-assurance at the same time if you have a written plan that you can go to and follow. Number 4, don't fall into the trap of just focusing on one catastrophe. I know right now it's easy to say, I'm going to focus on nuclear war. I'm going to focus on the collapse of the dollar. I'm going to focus on the magnetic pole change. I'm going to focus on the new cough that's coming around or whatever. Don't do that. Take a look at all those different threats and then say which one is most likely, which one or two are most likely. Do they have something in common as I'm prepping for it? And there are some things that they all have in common. We're going to have to eat when it happens. We're going to have to go to the bathroom when it happens. We're going to need water when it happens. And it doesn't matter what it is. Those are common across all of those. Focus on the things that are common across a whole multitude of events so that you are prepared to respond to any and all of them. Even if just a little bit for everyone, that's great. And then if you want to spend a little bit more focusing on one that you figure to be more relative, more of a threat than the others, that's okay too. And Triple G just said every step counts, and that's absolutely correct. Just remember that you're one step ahead of everybody else, and that's fantastic because it's one step ahead. There's the story about the 2 insurance salesmen, and they're trying to get to this farmhouse to sell an insurance policy. And there's a sign, and it says, "Don't cross this pasture, bull." And so they're talking, and one guy starts across the pasture, and the other guy follows him, and he takes off his shoes. He says, Why are you taking off your shoes? He says, I can run faster if I'm barefooted. He says, you can't outrun a bull. He says, I don't have to outrun the bull. I only have to outrun you. And that's the same thing in prepping. You only have to be better prepared than the other people. And then as they don't make it, they're what they have can automatically become your property. Don't forget to plan for the duration of the event. What I see, I was talking to somebody. Who was I talking to? And I know who it was. A friend. We used to be in the same networking group together. Years ago. And I was talking to him last Saturday. I went over to his house and we had a good hour and a half talk. And I said, what are you doing for food? And he says, I have 2 of those 14-day buckets. And so my wife and I can make it for 28 days. And I think that's all we need to do. Don't make that mistake. Don't fall into the trap of saying, I have it covered for 1 or 2 weeks. Think about, what is your long-term plan? You're going to have that for 1 or 2 weeks. What are you going to do for the next 2 weeks? What's going to happen the 2 weeks after that? Are you going to be hunting? Are you going to be fishing? Do you know how to hunt or fish? Do you know how to butcher an animal for meat? Do you know how to clean a fish? All those become important tasks that you need to learn now if you want to use it for the future. On my Facebook page a couple years ago, we were talking about knives, and so I just kind of asked a stupid question. It really was a stupid question. I said, "What's the best knife to scale a trout?" And gosh, we let that argument go on for almost a week, and finally, at the end of the week, I said, "You know what, guys, you all fail. You don't scale trout. You just gut them and cook them." And that was quite embarrassing for them, because here they are supposed to be planning on how they're going to live in the future, and they don't even know which fish you need to scale and which ones you don't. So that's kind of important that you know that kind of stuff, especially planning your foodstuffs. Ask yourself, what do I need? How am I going to get it? Can I get enough? Remember the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm an expert hunter right now, expert trapper, because I think that I can read a book and do it. Once I get the food, how am I going to process it? How am I going to preserve it? How am I going to cook it? So start asking all those questions. That's going to become extremely important to you as you develop your plan. And we're going to talk about that. That's another point down here as we get further down, Triple G. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, it can take forever, Triple G. It can take forever, especially if you're in a area where you're using your phone instead of Wi-Fi to upload the video. Typically, a 7-minute video is going to take you about 15 minutes to upload. So, and I'm assuming you have an iPhone, because that was our discussion earlier. Let me get to some comments here. That's fantastic. And oh, by the way, Holly, I am hearing from several different sources. I don't know if they got it from the one source and several different people reporting it, or if it's valid and coming from several different sources. I am hearing that today that they're announcing major OTC and prescription shortages nationwide, and they're beginning to what do they call that when they ration it? They're beginning to ration prescription medications and some OTC medications. So make sure you've got that taken care of. And that, if you think about this, think about Contingency Medical, think about Jace Medical. Both of them are phenomenal. They have different price points, pretty much the same contents. I like the booklet in this one better than I do in this one, but this one has more things that are covered than does the Jace. So each has its advantages. If you get Alton's book, Dr. Alton and Nurse Amy, Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, their books, that's going to help you, and you know which medications you're going to need and how to use them. Okay. Well, it depends on, once again, this is totally dependent upon the scenario that you're talking about. Yes, have a will. And we even have it further than that. When we first moved to the Austin area from Houston, we went to a family, a home show down at Palmer Coliseum. And so one of the first booths that we walked up to was a funeral home. And did you know that you can prepay your funeral? You can get your plot, you can get your coffin, you can get the embalming and everything. Pay for it in advance on a plan, a monthly plan, so that, and then your prices are frozen, and they give you a little card to stick behind your driver's license. And so Helen and I pre-planned our funerals. We paid for our funerals. She wants to be cremated. I'll be embalmed. And then we've got a mausoleum crypt that we're going to be put into. All of that's paid for. Nobody has to worry about that. That's all taken care of. And if my body's found on the street, they go into my wallet behind my driver's license. First, it has my allergies, and then behind that, it says, take my body to the mortuary that's where we purchased the plan. And they'll take care of me. That's all there is to it. 1/3 the price of paying for it after you die. So if you prepay it, you're freezing in your prices at today's rates versus tomorrow's, and you can do it on a monthly payoff plan instead of having to do it all at one time. So thank you for bringing that up, Triple G. Absolutely. It's morbid to think of in advance, but it's absolutely necessary. My dad and my mom both did the exact same thing. Dad has had his funeral paid for. He had his plot and everything taken care of. Exact same cemetery where Helen and I will be. And mom didn't have to do anything. She was in a terrible state when dad passed anyway. So I'm glad that everything was taken care of. She didn't have to do anything. She had the time to get readjusted to life. So she liked that so much that after dad's funeral, she went in and purchased her plan, and we designed her funeral and everything else. So it was exactly according to her wishes. So, I strongly recommend your will, prepay your funeral expenses and make your funeral plans. Don't forget to include sanitation and hygiene in your plan. I harp on that all the time. Make sure that you have both of those included in your plans. How are you going to get rid of your trash? There won't be any trash pickup. How are you going to get rid of your sewage? There won't be any working sewage systems. How are you going to, all these canned goods that you have, how are you going to dispose of those and not attract rodents and animals and insects so that, you want to keep those away from where you are. You don't want to attract all the things that come with them. So that's kind of an important thing too. Redneck Prepper, welcome. And yes, great suggestion. Let me get to it here in just a second. Holly Ivans and Triple G said the same thing. Please don't forget, we're human. We need to live. Helen and I are going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3.0. That's part of our plan and then Friday, we're actually we belong to the senior center here in our town. And so we take a bus trip somewhere here in Central Texas one Friday a month. And that Friday is day after tomorrow. And so we're going to be gone just enjoying Central Texas and eating a meal at a restaurant and everything else with about 20 other seniors. And it's just a great group of people, and we have a fun time. Also, the Senior Center has free donuts on Thursdays, so that's where we'll be tomorrow afternoon. Great comment, Redneck Prepper. Make sure that you get, if you're going to use veterinary equivalents, and according to both Prepper Nurse and Dr. Bones, they are the exact same thing. Remember that as of June 1st, that's going to be by prescription only. So you get that taken care of now. And Triple G agrees that it's way cheaper to pre-plan it, prepay it. Not the coffin that gets you, it's the coffin that they carry you away in. Okay. So Triple G Farms is reinforcing what I'm saying. It's right at 1/3, 3 times 15 to be 45, but roughly 1/3. So the price of prepaying and the advantage of paying for it, on a monthly basis, it's just phenomenal. If you can do that, talk to your local mortuary, give them a copy of your will as well. So make sure you have your will, a copy with the city or state government, a copy with the mortician that's going to do it. If you have a family attorney, make sure that they have a copy of it. And then, of course, anybody that's going to be an heir should have a copy of it as well. Jason in Virginia. And hello. I'm studying Hebrew, but I am not good enough to where I can read that yet. I was going to tell y'all, just some of the wonderful things about languages, because we're talking about English at the beginning of the show. Today is Mittwoch in German, and so Mittwoch means middle of the week day. So middle, and Woche is a week, so middle of the week, Mittwoch. And in Russian, it's Sreda, Sreda, which is also middle. So the way the Russians do it is Ponedelnik. So Nedelya is a week. Ponedelnik is at the beginning of the week. So Monday is the beginning of the week. Tuesday is Vtornik, VT, Vtor, Ornik, Vtornik, which comes from the word Vtaraya, which is second. So it's the second day of the week. Then Sreda is the middle. Then Четверг is Thursday. So Четверг comes from the root word четыре, which is 4. And so instead of saying Thursday, they say fourth day. And then Friday is Pятница. And Pyat is the Russian word for 5. So Один, два, три. So Один is Ponedelnik, Два is Второй, Вторник, Sreda, Четыре, Четверг, and Pятница, Pyat, 5. So, just kind of weird how other languages do their days of the week. Oh, that sounds like a winner. Absolutely. We drove up to Salado. We wanted to go to the the Wagon Wheel Inn, and it was shut down. They went bankrupt as a result of the cough and the lockdown, and that was terrible. Okay, back to the list. Number 7, don't overlook the importance of basic survival and bushcraft skills. Bouger Prepper has some great videos out there on how to start a fire using a ferrocerium rod and some other different things that she's been learning and learning the bushcraft stuff. And even on your back porch, starting a fire can be important. And learning how to use tinder and kindling and fire to get a fire going, how to use the coals and things like that, very, very important to you in the near future. So we're going to have, if it's really bad enough, it could take us back to the 19th century as far as technology. So you're going to have to know how to start a fire, how to cook, how to do all the things that those people did back in the 19th century out in the wild, wild west. Bouger Prepper has some great videos on that as she's learning. And so I would strongly recommend you take a look at that. So that's number 7, don't overlook the importance of basic survival and bushcraft skills. Number 8, don't neglect your physical fitness or your health or a plan for medications. And we already talked about the medications. That becomes even more critical now that we understand that there is a shortage of both over-the-counter as well as prescription medications. Can I get, since I mentioned it, can I get somebody, one of my, what do they call moderators? Oh, never mind. Triple G read my mind. Thank you, Triple G. You did it as I was thinking, going to ask you to do it. And so thank you very much. That's Bouger Prepper's link. If you would please subscribe to her. She has some great videos and support her channel as well. Triple G Farms is going to be putting out his first video here soon. So Triple G, if you would put the link to yours so we can support you as well, I would greatly appreciate that. Physical fitness. Okay, so I belong to Helen and I go to Silver Sneakers. Monday and Wednesday, we do the basic course. On Tuesdays, we do a stability class. because as you get older, you're less stable on your feet and everything else. Um, Friday morning we do a Tai Chi class, and so I mean we stay active, and we're trying to keep ourselves physically fit as well as stable and balanced and things like that. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Come up with some sort of a regimen. If it's just using resistance bands, if it's using light weights, there are plenty of free exercise programs online. Got a comment today from one of the subscribers on the video we did last night. I wanted to know where they could get cane fighting canes, and so I told them go to Cane Masters and use the code Matt. So if you go into that video and look at the comments, Matt is there, and I think his name is Matt Pasqualini or something like that. He has a great channel so you can, if you buy your cane, your fighting cane, and remember they're too far away for me to reach. I had them set up for last night. But the walking cane that I have, that I was issued by the Army, the horn is too small, so it won't allow me to spin it. A fighting cane, the horn is going to be more open, so you can spin it in your hand, and it becomes a very good tool to use as a weapon. You can get training for that online with Matt's line. There are a couple Matt's. Just do cane fighting on YouTube, and they're going to be finding all kinds of fantastic classes that you can get for free. Strongly recommend that. So that's another form of exercise. That's another form of stability and getting balance and everything else in your life. And it's also mental preparedness and mental toughness. That comes out really important as well. So Triple G says his video he's going to be putting out this weekend is it's not doing just with surviving, but with thriving, with living well, and experiencing the world. So how do you survive the apocalypse with a smile on your face, basically? That would be finding 3 other people who love contract bridge as much as I do. That would make me happy. And then we could sip some amaretto or some drambuie and play some bridge, and I'd be a very, very happy camper. But that's that. Oh, we could. My favorite wine. My daughter introduced it to me. It's an American blend, and they have a whole bunch of red wines, but it's called Ménage à Trois, and I get them at Costco. Fantastic. They've got some Cabernet Sauvignon. They've got some blended dark reds. Just great wines. I usually have a bottle open. That's what I drink, 1 glass of red wine every night. And my preferred red wine that I drink is Ménage à Trois. Number 9, and this goes back to what Triple G is talking about. Don't get caught up in unproven conspiracy theories or exaggerate the ones that are out there that just might have some common sense or plausibility to them. You're doing your mind no favors by getting caught up in these a lot of these different conspiracy theories. Just scoff them off, let them go. You don't have time to worry about trivia. Your life is far more important. Your survival is far more important. Your sanity is far more important than listening to people who want to tell you that there's little green men under your bed tonight. Don't listen to that. Just keep yourself good to go. Christina, you said thank you for answering your question. So I'm assuming, are you the one that asked it? Let me see. Did I answer it up here? Or are you the one that asked it on the about Matt? That I answered with Matt and how to get a fighting cane? Enjoying a nice Prothero Wines cab from California. I love Cabernet Sauvignon. I love Zinfandel. As a matter of fact, I used to get a wine from California. It was from a 50-year-old vine, and it was a great Zinfandel, just phenomenal. Yes, Ménage à Trois is good, and especially if you go for the dark blends, dark reds. Allison gave me a crate of 3 different blends of Ménage à Trois for Christmas this last year. Hello, Roaming Prepper. How you doing, Pete? So Pete's been putting out a series here, and he had a good one today where he's talking about pollution and carbon dioxide and offsets and everything else, and how China is the number one polluter. We're reducing our CO2 emissions and everything else. Great video. Recommend everybody go take a look at it. Boss Hog, welcome. Good to see you as well. Okay, so Christina Green was the one who asked me about the Kings, and so you went to King Masters, I imagine. Excuse me, and used Matt's discount code. I hope it's still valid. If not, we'll get a hold of Matt and we'll get you a discount code. How's that? Okay. So number 10, don't obsess on any one area of prepping, and we already talked about scenarios. Now I want to talk about one area of prepping. So there are people who stack silver to the exclusion of nothing else. There are people who collect guns and ammunition to nothing else, or have a collection of 150 knives, but you can only use a long one and a short one at the same time. But don't obsess on any one thing. Get something good in that area and then move on to something else. And let me tell you, this is from experience. I've got a whole drawer full of $100 plus knives that have only been used once or twice, because I would buy one, like it, use it, and then somebody come along and say, this one's even better. And I got caught up in that for a while. I've got thousands of dollars tied up in knives that I'll never use. I've got a brand new Mora Black that I keep next to my bed for things that go bump in the middle of the night. Never been used on wood or anything else. It's just laying there on my bed, ready to use against any intruder in the house. Don't focus on number 11. Don't focus on just one food source, and that could be short term versus long term versus fishing versus hunting versus all the other kinds of things. A couple of things I want to tell you. You really need to plan this well. Eric from Epic Gardening, fantastic gardening channel. He did a 20 by 40 patch of wheat in his backyard, grew it all summer. So this is 20 feet by 40 feet. It produced just enough wheat to bake one loaf of bread. So, how are you going to get more wheat than that? And maybe corn, so that you can grind the corn and make cornmeal. What are you going to do about grains and greens and vegetables and herbs and everything else? Like I said, have you studied how to butcher your meat, how to field dress it, how to butcher it, and how to skin it, and all those other different kinds of things? I think I gave the example last night. Another one of my favorite examples is here in Texas. Dove, depending on a lot of different things, can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months as far as the season for dove as it migrates across Texas. And so it takes 3 dove to feed me a meal, to make me satisfied with a meal. I got 4 people in the family, let's assume. And so that means I got to have 12 dove for 1 meal. Well, let's assume I'm a perfect shot with a shotgun. They're always in range. They're always flying. I've got perfect lead and everything else. Bang, I shoot them. That means I'm going to need 12 rounds of shotgun shells every single day for the 90 days that they are migrating through our area. So 90 times 12 is going to be pretty close to 1,000 shotgun shells to feed my family for just 3 months, 1 meal per person. So, think about things like that as you're planning your hunting and your snaring and your trapping and your fishing and everything else. Just remember that competitive professional bass fishermen here in Central Texas spend 10 hours out on the lake to catch 10 pounds worth of bass. And, are you going to have a boat with gas and a good trolling motor in order to get the bass fish that you want? Now, I'm very lucky. The river right here where I was going to get my water, they did have a record-breaking catfish on it. So that's probably what I'll do, is go sit there and drink a glass of wine and catfish. Okay, we will. We'll do a good live stream over a bottle of red. We'll have to share that together. For anyone in Texas, Spicewood Vineyards, west of Austin, is the bomb. Have to check them out. Yeah, especially if they're just west of here. And I understand we do good Zinfandels here, and we do good cabs here as well. Both of those grow here extremely well. No, Little Lone Prepper, you didn't miss that much. So welcome back. Good to have you back. Jason in Virginia, you're absolutely right. And that was one of the things I stressed last night, and I'm going to stress it again here later on. Given a choice between a skill or a knowledge and a tool, go for the skill and knowledge. Okay, so number 12, don't assume that there will be an endless supply of fish and game. There won't be. There's going to be people out there. Remember that during the Great Depression, it was almost impossible to find rabbits for a while, and squirrels and things like that. And people were eating raccoons and muskrats and all that kinds of stuff. Number 13, don't think you can do it all by yourself. I talk about originally what my plan was I have all these 5-gallon water bottles, and I wanted my daughter to gave me a one of those heavy duty wagons from Academy, one of those really heavy duty ones. And I figured, well, I'll take that wagon and I'll walk down a mile to the river, and got to drop about 250 feet in elevation to get down to the river. And I'll fill those up every day with 10 gallons of water and then pull it back up to the house. Well, you know what? A 70-year-old guy with an artificial hip, that's challenge number one. So walking that full mile downhill, and then with full, 10 gallons of water, that's 65 gallons of water, 70 gallons of water. So now I got to lug that back up the hill. Plus, I'm susceptible to mean people out there while I'm out there all by myself. And while I'm out there getting the water, Helen's here all by herself, who's taking care of guarding her and guarding the house. So, you've got to come up with other plans, and you've got to sleep sometime. Even the lone wolf has to sleep sometimes. So who's going to watch out for things while you're sleeping? And so don't think you can do it all by yourself. Here's another really good one. Number 14, don't look at everybody around you as a threat or an enemy. There are some fantastic people out there. You just need to go out and meet them. I did not know that my next door neighbor was a prepper until I put up my rainwater catchment system. We had a fantastic discussion. So now we are working together, and she's got her daughter. Well, it's a family of 3 ladies, 3 generations of women, and then her son, and so it should be the grandmother, mother, son, and daughter, and then of course there's the son-in-law. So there's a whole family over there we're all working together. The guy came by, and there's one of the guys here in the neighborhood is a roofer, and he wanted to inspect the roof, and we were talking, and he's a prepper. Now I've got another guy brought into the fold of the neighborhood. The guy across the street is an air conditioning repair guy, and he wanted to know why I was doing certain things. I told him, and he says, I need to do that too. He's now a prepper. So there are fantastic people here in this neighborhood, and we're working together. And if I viewed them as enemies or as potential threats, we would never have the coalition that we have. There are good people out there, and you can find them. But be cautious. Okay. Don't go blaring everything the first chance you get. Approach cautiously, but look for the best in people, not necessarily the worst. I will tell you how I know. In 1981 or 82, when I was buying all my silver, is when the Hunt brothers decided to dump theirs on the market, and I lost it like you would not believe. So, however, I got back into it, and I am sitting pretty because I was dollar cost averaging, and I got it down. I got some as low as $8. And I want to say that my average cost on the vast majority of my silver is going to be somewhere around 12 and a half. And so I'm looking pretty now that it's at 25. But, that's everything has a time and a purpose, and all situations are different. So I'm quite sure that you probably are in the situation I was in back in the early 80s with the Hunt brothers. Oh, Pete. Wow. Okay. You know, the one thing I like about Lano, for those of you who don't know, Lano has Cooper's Barbecue, the finest barbecued pork chop in the world. I will drive an hour and 15 minutes from here to Lano just to get their barbecued pork chop. It is superior. They now have opened one down on Congress Avenue, just north of the river, between the river and the Capitol in downtown Austin on Congress Avenue. And it's the original pits from Lano. Almost as good, not 100%. I would much rather drive to Lano to get my barbecue. But anyhow, yes, so I'll have to check out the wine while I'm out there next time. Um, Let me see here. Holly. Yes, absolutely. And especially if you have topo mats, if you can get topographical mats, teaching them how to read topographical maps would be phenomenal. Gosh, look at all these comments I got to go through here. Unbelievable. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you. Let me get through these, then we'll go back and we'll catch on your comments. Number 15, don't forget to meet and get to know all your neighbors. We talked about that. And number 16, don't confuse stockpiling with hoarding. So make sure that the things that you're stockpiling fit your plan and you know exactly what you're going to do with them. When you're just getting stuff because it's on sale, that's hoarding. You know, if it doesn't fit into your plan and you're not going to use it, you don't know how you're going to use it, but you're just getting it because it's a good buy, that I consider that hoarding. So one of the things you might say is, even if you start hoarding, you say, well, I'm going to use this for barter materials. And in my opinion, the best barter material is going to be canned foods or other foodstuffs. The things that most people don't have is the things that they're going to be looking for. And I think food's going to be the critically short item. Remember that we're projecting critical shortages in rice, flour, sunflower seed oil, cocoa, coffee, sugar. Gosh, there's a list of about 20 different items. They're going to be eggs, beef, chicken, dairy products. I mean, we're looking at the possibility of having foodstuffs maybe in the same area as the recession right before it went into the Great Depression. Okay, number 17, don't spend all your money on preps. Spend your money on other things, good books, movies, going out with your friends, enjoying life. If you don't enjoy life, if you don't take time to walk away from your preps on a regular basis to get your sanity back so that you're not focused on bad things. Remember that we're here to live a life. We're not, and the whole reason we want to survive is because we want to live as well after SHTF as we are living right now. So we want to thrive after SHTF. So don't spend all your money on preps. Spend some of it on what I call mental restitution. Okay, and that means just getting your mind straight and enjoying life and remembering there's a reason why we want to live. We're in this for, we have this very short time here on Earth relative to the length of the sun and the earth and everything else. Thunder. But enjoy it, and don't forget the spiritual side of that either. One of the things I love about Germany, and I spent a long time over there, is that in their school system they teach religion and ethics, and they don't tell you which religion to belong to. They just teach you the importance of religion and ethics, and we don't do that here. We've lost our moral compass. We've lost our ethics. I wish we could do what they do. So number 18, don't focus on guns and tools and preps at the exclusion of acquiring skills and knowledge. So study and spend more time studying than you do shooting or something like that. Putting it to practice. Number 19, don't forget to adapt and adjust. So your plan, George Patton said it best. All plans are only valid until you make contact with the enemy, because they haven't read our plan and haven't agreed to abide by it. So, you can have the best laid plans, But your best laid plans, the minute they come into contact with the reality of the situation, you're going to have to adapt and adjust. Be prepared to be flexible, and understand when it's appropriate to change your plan, when it's appropriate to stick to your plan. So that's going to be very, very critical for you. And then the last one I want to share with you is, don't think you'll do it right without practicing it first. So one of the main reasons why we can react the way we do in combat is because it's a rote memory. It's a muscle memory. We do certain things and we practice that all the time. Same thing in martial arts. You start out slowly, you repeat this step over and over again, you get faster, you get smoother. When you're slow, you're smooth, and smooth is fast. That's what we say in martial arts. And so, then you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice until it becomes a reflex. It's no longer you're thinking about doing it. It becomes a reflex. Same thing with shooting. Same thing with preparing firewood. Get your practice, starting fires, and all that kinds of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to spend rest of the time on your comments. So Pete says that his favorite knife is the very first one his dad gave him, a U.S. Cornet knife, a cousin brought back from Vietnam. The Army's version of the K-bar. I would show you. I have a K-bar right here, the K-bar USMC fighting knife, but we can't do that on lives. Can't show you weapons on lives. They're afraid that I might do something with it that's inappropriate. My first one was a K-bar folder that my dad gave me, and I lost it at Boy Scout camp. Oh God, that was devastating. But it was a fairly good folding knife, big one that his grandfather gave him, and it was my great grandfather's, and I lost it. Terrible. So Jason says that all our ancestors were very well rounded. We need to become like them. I wholeheartedly agree. Let me see here. Kill it and grill it. Welcome. I'm just reading the comments here real quick, and we got Rumi Preppers out. So evidently, Kill It and Grill is talking about, he's liking some of the things that I'm talking about as far as don'ts, things we shouldn't do. Rabbits are a very good crop. I was talking to a local farmer. So one of the things I do is every Saturday morning, I go to 3 different farmers markets every Saturday. I may or may not buy things. I just walk and talk. And the reason is because there's farmers who live within a mile radius of me who have farms with good produce on them. I want to know them. I want to know that there are people who are producing food within a mile radius of where I am, so that if SHTF happens, they know me, I'm not a threat to them, and I can go barter with them and get food if I need to. So, rabbits, talking to them, rabbits, goats, and pigs are the 3 things, and chickens are 3 or 4 things that we really want to have in our little home forestry thing, little home farm, let's call it. So Little and Prepper hopes to get some laying hens soon. Let me tell you, in most of the scenarios that I've seen, eggs will be extremely valuable. It's a good source of protein. It's just, eggs are fantastic, phenomenal. It's a great survival food. I think you'll do extremely well. The problem is going to be protecting them from predators, 2-legged and 4-legged. So that's going to be your biggest challenge, in my opinion. So James Carroll's on the beach where the surf fishing is good most of the year. That's fantastic. Let me see. Yeah, I've come into several of them. So what happened is, about 3 years ago, I put a deal. We have a Facebook page just for our community. And I said, hey guys, let's get together. Let's talk about what we can do to help each other in case of an emergency. 2 families showed up out of the entire neighborhood of 120 some odd homes. And so then we had Snowmageddon. Well, when Snowmageddon happened, we had electricity 4 hours a day. So everybody got on Facebook, I need this and I need that. So I gave stuff away. I gave away little bitty stoves, gave away, portable heaters, gave away all kinds of stuff, trying to get people interested into survivalism and into prepping. And after Snowmageddon happened, I went down, I did a 2-page front and back so I could just have my own sheet of paper, newsletter. Said, here's the lessons we learned. Here's what we need to do to prepare for the next one. Passed it out to all my neighbors. Waited a month, said, okay, guys, let's get together and plan. What are we going to do in case we have another snowmageddon? Same 2 families showed up. And, people weren't just weren't that interested. And then we had Snowmageddon 2 this last winter, back in February of this year. And, and so now we got 5 families. So we've gone from 3 plus, I'm talking about other families other than me. So we've gone from 3 total to 6 total. So we've doubled our size. But, that's progress. That is progress. I can say that. Hello, Rum the gentleman. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Christina says her next door neighbor's a prepper, very intelligent people. She's a surgical nurse. Her husband is a scientist. Great people. Yeah, most people are great. And I think as long as we are focused on a common goal, and that is to survive and thrive in a post-apocalyptic world, that I think we regardless of politics, religion, or anything else, as long as we stay focused on that goal, we can unite and accomplish that. I am quite sure. I am quite certain that there's a lot of people, maybe not even of the same political persuasion. Oh, yes. So the first place I went flounder fishing was in Monterey Bay. And Chuck Trubenstein was at my basic Russian class. And we went out there fishing. And we were in a little bitty dinghy and with a 3 horsepower outboard motor. And the small craft warnings were up, and so we're going up into these 8-foot swells out in Monterey Bay and fishing for flounder, and we're using squid as bait, and he stuck one of those squid in his mouth and bit it in half, and that was it. We had to go in. I couldn't take it anymore. Between the undulations of the waves and watching him chew on raw squid, that's all I could take. So Little Lone Prepper gets her eggs from her niece right now. Yeah, roaming prepper. Pete says he's finding more and more preppers every day. And matter of fact, he and I have got to get together. So Triple G, Pete, and then Texas Red Leg is fairly close. We've all got to get together and have a get together, sit down, a coffee, whatever. Triple G's offering my house. It's not big enough for 3 people to turn around. Triple G. Okay, let's see where we are. Triple G, roaming prepper is in the Midland, Odessa area. All right, so Christina has 3 vets around her, which is great. Does anybody stockpile MREs? I have 1 case of MREs only because I bought them at the commissary. We went down to San Antonio to Randolph Air Force Base. And we walked in the commissary because that's where we get most of our German food, our Spätzle and things like that, is because of all the number of German wives that there are in the military. The commissaries have a lot more foreign foods, Korean, Vietnamese, German, than do other places. And so we can get them and at a fairly good price. So we found a case of MREs down at the Randolph Air Force Base, and we picked those up. I also have a case of sea rations from about 1972. Okay, let me see. Pete's got to go. Pete, thank you for joining us for a short while. Greatly appreciate it. I will try to type it out for you. We have a pretty busy day tomorrow, but I'll try to type out all 20 of them and put it in the show notes afterwards at some point here in the near future. Wow. I'll have to get up to the Lampasas farmers market. Maybe, let me see, what have I got going on Saturday? I wanted to go to, we are very lucky here in the area. We have an LDS, Latter-day Saints, Provident Living Store, where you can get their long-term canned goods at very discounted prices. Just to give you an idea, this is my inventory sheet of how many I have, but let me give you some ideas on some of the prices. Here we go. So A number 10 can of apple slices with a 30-year shelf life costs $9.58. Number 10 can of pinto beans is $7.49. Great Northern, all these are going to be number 10 cans. Great Northern beans, $8.23. Carrots, $8.92. They don't do refried beans anymore. I've got 21 cans of that. 57 cans of flour at $5.38 a can. Macaroni at $4.98 a can. Non-fat dry milk at $4.98 a can. Quick oats, instant oats, $5.03 a can. Onions, $8.36 a can. I think the most expensive thing in here is going to be sugar at $8.80 a can. White rice, $7.50 a can. So, I mean, very, very good quality stuff at a very good discounted price. And they're open here. They're in Round Rock off of A.W. Grimes. They're only open on Saturday mornings from 9 to noon and Tuesday afternoons from 1 to 7. So, you have very limited windows when you can go get stuff. Let me see. Now, so I used to be, as a matter of fact, I think where I worked didn't quite make it to Lampasas, but I was the HR director for the Heart of Texas Electric Co-op, and they were based out of Waco, actually out of a little town just west of Waco called McGregor. And we had 13 counties that we provided electricity to. And so if you have a doctor's order or a doctor's prescription for any kind of a medical device, okay, so that could be a CPAP machine, that could be nighttime oxygen concentrator like I have, it could be an infusion system for chemotherapy or anything like that. If you have a prescription from a physician for an electrically operated medical device, get a copy of that prescription to your electric provider, because they keep the circuits where the prisons, hospitals, and police stations and fire departments. So if you're on that loop where the electricity goes, you have priority. You will stay up as long as they can get you up. You'll have priority over everybody else. If you have a prescription on file, then that loop gets tagged that is going to be one of the first ones that they're going to go and reinstate. So make sure if you have a prescription that you file it with your electrical provider so that they know that you are dependent upon that electrical medical system. So Clarity Jane, let me tell you what happened here. I talked with our Deacon John, and he and I had a conversation last week. And I said, hey, Deacon John, if you look at what's going on in the world, take a look at what's going on in the U.S., I think pretty soon we're going to have to be having bread lines and soup lines like during the Great Depression. Have we made any plans whatsoever to accommodate that, should that become a necessity? He said, well, Lee, you need to talk to either St. Vincent de Paul, which I'm a member of, or the Knights of Columbus, which I'm not a member of. So it just so happened that the president of St. Vincent de Paul and I went to visit a neighbor in need Monday evening, and we rode together. So we had the discussion about what are we going to do to prepare, get a stockpile of food so that if we have to operate a soup kitchen or a bread line, what can we do to make that happen? So he said, come up with a plan. So this Saturday, excuse me. Oh, that's where I'm going to be Saturday. This Saturday is our annual retreat. I think it's the 20th. So we have our annual retreat this Saturday. And so John asked me if I would give a half-hour presentation along with my plan on what I think we need to do and what we need to stockpile in order to make that happen. I hope you can have the same amount of luck. So just, talk about, look, things are not looking good. People are losing their jobs. People are becoming bankrupt. The banks are, the interest rates are going up. Credit card rates are way high. Homelessness is on the rise. What are we going to do to help our fellow man? Because that's one of the things, if you remember in James 2, verses 12 through 24, it might be 14 through 24, as well as Matthew 25. says, we have the obligation to take care of our fellow man. So use those, look up those two phrases, those two passages, and use that with your pastor, and maybe that'll help a little bit. Sure. I'll put the link to the locator for you, because there's 48 stores nationwide, and so we have one here in Round Rock. I don't know for sure where the other 47 are. I know there's one in Salt Lake City and one in Provo, but where the others are, I don't know. So what I'll do is I'll just put up the locator link, and I'll put that in the show notes when I do the show notes. But absolutely, I'll try to get that done so that you can go down there Saturday morning if you want to go down there Saturday morning. Okay. Okay, it looks like I'm caught up on comments. So I don't know. What do you think about that list of 20 things? Does anybody have anything else that they think I left off I should include in the list? I know that Triple G was reading my mind. He came up with one or two of them that were on the list, but he came up with them a little bit early. And let me see if there's anything else coming up from y'all. And so let me grab my. Okay. Oops, I'm already in the New Testament. I don't want to be there. I want to be back here. Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, and 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So do me a favor. I'm going to put that back. I'm just not looking away from you for just a minute because I like to keep it all real close. Do me a favor. Let's remember that we're all in this together. You can't do it all by yourself. We are together. There's a great group of people here, and some of them are great content creators. Some of them are about to become a great content creator. I'm not the only person. So, there are other people here. Subscribe to them, watch what they do, listen to what they have to say. Because we want to learn as much as we can before whatever happens is going to happen, so that we can all join together and maybe enjoy a fantastic bottle of red wine. And so next week, I promise you, on Wednesday, I will have a good glass of red wine here for you, and I'll show you what it is. Maybe by that time I will have gotten up to Llano and gotten some, or even west of here, and gotten some of that good Texas red wine. So remember, we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please, please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Get to know each other. Let's take care of each other, because that's what we're intended to do, is to love one another and take care of one another. Because remember, togetherness is the key. Take care. Bye-bye.